Cheap Charizards, expensive booster boxes, sets exploding in value. The Pokemon card market trend right now is insane, and today we'll be taking a look at some of the most trendy sets and items that you should be paying attention to, along with items that you might want to start buying if you don't have them already, or selling them if you do. Starting with the single largest trend in the Pokemon card market we've seen in years: alternate art cards. Alt arts were popularized more recently in the Sword and Shield era a few years ago, first appearing in sets like Battle Styles, Chilling Reign, and Evolving Skies. These cards took the market absolutely by storm. So let's take a look at some of the most popular alternate arts from this era and see how the market has held up for them. Starting with the king of them all, the Umbreon VMAX alternate art, aka the Moonbreon. This is the #1 card of Evolving Skies and the card that sent the market in absolute chaos, especially with Evolving Skies prices. Well, right now, this card is still selling for over $520, ungraded. But as you can see from the 1-year trend graph, there was a huge spike going into 2023 with the explosion of this card and of Evolving Skies, but it has seen a steady decline since its peak at $650 in April, all the way down to $490 in October. We're now seeing a bit of a price jump back up into November, but who knows where this trend will go. This could be the beginning of the end for the Evolving Skies takeover of the market, or this could just be a much needed price correction and the rally for Evolving Skies and for the Moonbreon might continue. Now, there's another card in this set that is worth a lot of money. It's this one, the Rayquaza VMAX alternate art from Evolving Skies. And looking at the 1-year graph, you could see a pretty similar trend as the Moonbreon. The card was very popular, went down in popularity in February, typically due to people just buying less in Q1, surging in popularity in April up to over $300 ungraded for the card, and it has steadily declined since. But with this one, we're seeing a little bit less of a bounce back. Even still, this card is selling for over $220 ungraded consistently right now, which is really expensive for a regular card. Well, it's not regular, it's an alternate art. Another huge one is the #1 card in the set, Silver Tempest, and we've got the Lugia V alternate art, a beautiful card, a one that was very popular, but has also seen some very interesting price movement, selling for over $200 at December of last year, dropping all the way down to underneath $100 for a second, and right now selling for somewhere around $130. Again, as you could see, a very steady price decrease in this alternate art card, even though it's the #1 pull of Silver Tempest. Silver Tempest is a great set. We've seen some pretty steady decline here. And that decline is no different with the Giratina V alternate art from Lost Origin. The brain destroyed there. What? This card saw another huge popularity spike in March and April, selling for over $300 per card, but now has corrected all the way down to around $240 a card, which is a huge dip, and as you can see from the 1-year graph, it has consistently been going down since April. It's very obvious that in April, there was a lot of hype around alternate arts, like this one right here, the Gengar VMAX alternate art from Fusion Strike, a set that has had a lot of controversy over the year, but as you can see from the 1-year graph, this card has held up in value and has been gaining steam, which is very interesting to see considering most of the alternate art cards that were very popular have been crashing so hard in price. This one has held, going from around $170 to right now over $200. Very beautiful card. I like Fusion Strike, and it's cool to see this one continue to climb. So Gengar holding up pretty nicely, but a big question is, will Gengar see a correction, a price crash like these other alternate arts, or does this one just stand out for some reason? Then finally, we've got the Tyranitar V alternate art from Battle Styles, which was one of the first alt arts to really kick off this trend. And as you can see from the price history in the last year, it's been all over the place, starting for around $100, going all the way up to $115, and then settling now to where it is around $99. Actually, it really hasn't been all over the place. It's had like $10 of this with kind of a steady decline, so maybe not all that crazy. And why are we seeing such a correction in the alternate art card market? My take is that Pokemon was not printing any special art rare cards. It was just regular VMAXs, Vs, Rainbow Rares, and some gold cards. So when alternate arts came out and it was this cool, different, very unique art style of a specific Pokemon, that was super cool and exciting. But they started printing tons of trainer gallery cards, art rare cards, illustration rare cards. Now when you open up a modern booster pack from like Paradox Rift, you could pull a number of very, very unique artwork of different Pokemon. So the special novelty aspect of alternate art cards has kind of just been printed away with newer sets that feature tons of very special and fun art. But these cards are some of the grandfathers of the alternate art card market trend. So even though there's tons of cards printed now with special arts, the ones we just showed and looked at will always be the OGs. Now, it wouldn't be a market video if we didn't check out the most recent set released, Paradox Rift. Checking out the booster box sales, we see it going for around $130 to $140 upon release, to now settling around what, $100, about $103 for a booster box. This usually always happens when a set is released. It's really expensive off the start, and then it corrects as more and more is printed and getting out into the market, and it becomes easier to find. And I think right now with Paradox Rift, we're still in the price discovery mode. We don't really exactly know what this set is worth or what it's going to do in a couple of months. It just came out. We do know there are several cards that are very meta relevant in the TCG and other cards that are very cool and fun to collect. So fundamentally, it's a pretty good set. Now let's look at some of the top cards from the set. We've got the Roaring Moon EX Secret Illustration Rare, a very, very cool card of the Roaring Moon version of Salamence, which is a very, very popular Pokemon. And as you can see, we've had some pretty steady price increases with this. Over the last month, we've seen the card go for around $78 to now well over $100, selling to near 110 to 115. I think a lot of people underestimated how valuable these cards might be because the set was sort of underwhelming, but it seems like people are really enjoying it and beginning to collect it a ton. And this could mark the start of a trend that Paradox Rift might see, going from a set that is valued around, I guess you would say like the average value of a new set, to something that becomes much more expensive and much more sought after. Same can be seen with the Iron Valiant EX Secret Illustration Rare card, having a similar crazy price jump, going from around $50 all the way to around $70 right now and steadily climbing. Another amazing card. It's decently hard to pull, very, very cool artwork, and again, experiencing a pretty nice jump in value. Typically by now we would see these cards plummeting in price if they weren't actually that valuable or people didn't really want them. So to see them climbing is actually a really good sign for Paradox Rift. But the same can't be said for the Goldango EX Secret Illustration Rare, which I think the card is very cool. I don't think it's as cool as the other ones, and the market agrees. This card was selling for around $98 when it was first released, and it's now selling for closer to $40. I think the first couple of sales were just the discovery sales from being a new set, but it definitely is settling very, very cheap. Now let's take a look at how some of the most trendy sets in the entire Pokemon card world have been performing in the market. Starting with Evolving Skies, looking at the booster box prices and sales. Obviously, Evolving Skies has been the crown gem of the Pokemon card market lately, and especially of the more recent releases, this one coming from the Sword and Shield era. Over the last year, some insane price movements on Evolving Skies, selling for around $280 per booster box to now selling for over $420. A lot of people are predicting the crash of Evolving Skies, especially when looking at the alternate art card prices and how they continue to come down, but the booster box price seems to be holding firm right now, and even looking at the 1 month price movement, it obviously has dropped from around $438 to now $426, but who knows where the future of this set will be. It is definitely the best set from the Sword and Shield era, which is honestly a really great era. Next up, we'll take a look at Japanese Pokemon 151, a set that I personally believe in the absolute most for the long haul. Again, not financial advice, but I do see this set doing what Eevee Heroes did not long ago, going from around $160 a box to around $400 to $600 a box. Well, looking at this eBay 6-month trend, as you can see, we've got booster boxes selling in May for around $140, going all the way, flying all the way up to over $227 right now. This is huge price movement in only a couple months from an absolutely amazing set. A big reason why Japanese 151 is not being printed that much. It's a very, very hard set to find. Also, it's Japanese, so it's just harder to get your hands on. And the cards inside, like the Secret Illustration Rare Charizard, are really, really hard to pull since you only get one single secret rare per booster box. Also, these sets feature the Master Ball Reverse Holo Rarity, which did not come to the English set, and give it a whole new fun reason to want to open packs. This set is fantastic. I personally expect to see it continue to climb. We here at Mr. Grips have acquired a ton of booster boxes. We're selling some, but we're gonna keep some locked away because I think this set will do very well. Speaking of Pokemon 151, let's take a look at the prices of the English set, starting with the English booster pack. When it first came out, it was selling for around $6 a pack and surged to over $7, and now you can find them for around $5.50 a pack. This set is very, very new. I think this is one of the best sets printed in a very long time. It's brought a lot of people who weren't collecting Pokemon cards or who haven't opened them in years back to opening Pokemon cards. The only problem with English 151 is I think that the Pokemon Company is going to print this set into oblivion, and the pull rates are pretty high, which means you can get the rare cards fairly easily. So although I think this is a fantastic set, and in a couple of years from now it's going to be very, very valuable, I don't think the Pokemon Company is going to stop printing this anytime soon, which is just going to keep the prices low, which is great, where people can collect. Taking a look at Team Up, Sun and Moon Team Up. This, kind of like Evolving Skies, is the best set of the Sword and Shield era. Sun and Moon Team Up is the best set of the Sun and Moon era, which came right before Sword and Shield. And looking at the 1 year graph, this box has been absolutely running out of control. Starting last year at around under $1,000 a booster box, now selling for over $2,000 a booster box. This set is fantastic. We'll look at some of the cards inside this set to see why it's selling for so much. But this is a really good example of a fundamentally great set getting picked up by the market and absolutely soaring in value. We actually did a Team Up booster box break on TikTok earlier this week, which was super duper fun, and we're looking to hopefully get some more packs. So this is a fun set to open. It's a hard set to hit in, but a really, really cool one. And looking at this 1 year graph, I don't know, is this set due for a correction? $2,000 for a booster box of a set that was released really not that long ago is super expensive, but it's a fantastic set. Who knows? Another set that's seen some incredible price jumps is Sun and Moon Cosmic Eclipse. Looking at the 1 year graph, selling for around $540 at the beginning or the end of last year, now selling for over $850. This thing is going crazy, and it's a trend that we can see in actually a lot of the Sun and Moon era. As the Sword and Shield era begins to come down in price, Sun and Moon is beginning to fly up. It looks like collectors are beginning to look back a little bit like further, but not too far back, because X and Y gets really, really expensive. Sun and Moon has some amazing Pokemon cards, and these sets are super duper fun to open and have some awesome hits inside. So it's no wonder that Cosmic Eclipse has ran so far this year. But again, like with Team Up, are we seeing a very, very high price point that cannot be sustained, or will this box continue to get more and more expensive? Okay, those were some of the trendy sets. Now let's take a look at some of the trendiest Pokemon single cards in the market and how they're doing. Starting with the #1 card from Sun and Moon Team Up. This is the reason why the set is so expensive. It's the Latios and Latios GX alternate art full art card with the 2 and the heart in the middle. It's a beautiful card. It's so, so cool. It is an alternate art, so they were also very popular in Sun and Moon. And as you can see from the 1 year price graph, this card was selling for around $400 at the end of last year and is now selling for over $760. This thing is really, really expensive. It's very cool. It's hard to find, but is absolutely carrying the set Team Up on its back. Then we've got a very interesting card. This is the Iono Secret Illustration Rare from the set Paldea Evolved, a set that definitely has just dipped in value. And looking at the 1 year graph or even the 6-month graph from this card, it was selling for over $130 near release to now selling for around $84. But in my opinion, this is probably one of the best trainer secret illustration rare cards that we've seen, especially in the Scarlet and Violet era. So I think this is a great pickup, and I definitely think this is a cool card that will continue to gain value in the future, especially since Paldea Evolved wasn't that popular and therefore probably wasn't printed that much. As time goes by, this is going to be a really, really cool card from the Scarlet and Violet era. Then we've got the one and only Charizard Secret Illustration Rare English from Pokemon 151. Now, this is kind of an interesting thing to look at because this is a set that came out very recently and prices are usually super duper volatile. But as you can see, it sold for like $97, then jumped all the way up to $132, kind of settled back down around $100, and has been steadily climbing since to now over $134. Even though the pack prices of Pokemon 151 are coming down, it looks like some of the biggest hits of the set are going up, and that's a great, great sign. It's good to see that people are looking at and wanting to get some of the biggest hits of this set, specifically because I'm the biggest Pokemon 151 fan ever. And now we've got the Rainbow Rare Charizard VMAX from the set Champion's Path, which was like the set when Pokemon had its huge resurgence and Pokemon cards really came back during the pandemic. This was the set and this was the card that was super trendy at the time. Now, looking at the 1 year graph, as you can see, this card definitely exploded in value again last year in April, selling for over $200, but since super crashed in October to under $160 for the card. but it has been steadily climbing back up towards that $200 price point, which is where you're gonna find it now. It's been really cool to see the price bounce of this card, especially because a lot of Charizards right now are going down in price. Rainbow Rare Charizard from Champion's Path is really hard to pull. The set is really expensive to buy. Pull rates are very bad for it. So again, very hard card to get, really sick art, very nostalgic for a lot of people since again, when this thing was released in 2020, most people were coming back to Pokemon cards for the first time since they were kids. So this card, I think, will always be valuable and always hold a special place in a lot of people's heart due to the resurgence and the near recent nostalgia factor. There have been tons of new and amazing Pokemon cards and sets released throughout this year 2023. So let's take a look at some of the most popular recent cards released and see how they're doing. Starting with the Charizard EX Secret Illustration Rare from the set Obsidian Flames, which has unfortunately seen a really difficult price graph, selling for over $200 when it was first released, all the way down to $60 right now. Well, about $63. The reason why? Obsidian Flames just kind of flopped. There have been so many Charizards printed over the last year. They got a little bit old, I'm assuming, and this set was really easy to pull Charizards in. So plenty of people got it. It was printed a ton. And the market just didn't really respond positively. Then we've got the Miriam from Scarlet and Violet base set, which was the first set for the Scarlet and Violet era, and Miriam being the Secret Illustration Rare trainer card during the waifu craze. Another card that again sold for over $200 when it first came out and has since dropped to under $30. It has had a huge price decline, and Scarlet and Violet base set has seen the same. But it was the first set from the Scarlet and Violet era, which is turning out to be pretty decent of an era, and that's one of the biggest cards in the set, so $30 to pick it up raw might be a good opportunity. Now we've got the Giratina V-Star Secret Rare Gold card from Crown Zenith, the final set from the Sword and Shield era, and honestly a really great one. But unfortunately for Giratina V-Star, it was selling for over $170 about a year ago and is now selling for underneath $70. It has seen a huge price decrease. But like with the Miriam, this is a great set, and it's the last set of the Sword and Shield era, making it just kind of inherently special. Plus the card is very cool, it's golden, it's shiny, the Giratina art looks insane, it's very cool, and selling for underneath $60, $70 a card, this might be another great opportunity and pickup. Paldean Fates was revealed this month and will be releasing in January of 2024. It's the third set of the Fates shiny Pokemon card series, and a lot of us want to know, how is it gonna do? Well, let's take a look at the two other Shiny Fates sets to see how they've done over these last couple of years. Starting with Shining Fates, looking at the 1 year sales price for the Elite Trainer boxes, selling for around $50 a year ago, dipping all the way down to under $38 in September. But then with the reveal of Paldean Fates and the news that a new shiny set's coming out, we've seen actually a bit of a price jump all the way back up to almost $45 in Elite Trainer box. So this could be a trend that we might see for Shining Fates. With the release of the new Shining set, especially if it performs well in the market, this set might see a huge rebound. And looking at the Shiny Charizard VMAX card, which is the #1 card from the set, we can see a pretty similar graph. Selling for over $100 a year ago, dipping down to under $70 during October, and now having a little bit of a price jump back up to over $80 with the announcement of the Paldean Fates set. This is another card that is, honestly, it's a really cool art. It's a bit easy to pull compared to the Rainbow Rare Charizard in Champion's Path, but if the set Paldean Fates does well, this card could too. Now we'll take a look at Hidden Fates, which is the first ever Shiny Fates series set released back in the Sun and Moon era, and checking out the 1 year graph, this box has been gaining value since the start of the year. In January, selling for around $150, now selling for over $170. So nice to see some price increases. This is one of my favorite sets ever, and it's just awesome because you have so many shiny Pokemon to pull inside, including this Shiny Charizard GX, the top hit of the set, which was selling for around $348 at the low in March of this year, now jumping all the way up to $390 in November of this year. We've seen a huge price increase on this, and it might be a good time to sell if you're holding on to it, or a good time to buy if you really believe in the Paldean Fates set. And just for fun, let's take a look into the vintage card market at some of the best sets ever. Starting off with Team Rocket First Edition, which has seen quite the price decrease, selling for over $350 at the end of last year to now selling for under $320 per pack. And overall, the vintage card market has seen kind of a decline. It seems like most people are more interested in the newer sets than in the older ones. Same thing can be seen with the original base set booster pack, selling for over $380 at the end of last year to now selling for underneath $300. Then checking out one of the best sets ever, Skyridge, we can actually see an opposite trend. Skyridge was selling actually for around $1,000 per pack at the end of last year and is now selling for over $1,200, and it continues to climb. This is again one of the best sets ever printed in Pokemon card history and definitely one of the best vintage sets ever printed, so no wonder it's doing so well. Then let's take a look at my favorite set ever, Neo Destiny First Edition, and looking at the 1-year graph. Unfortunately for me and my favorite set, it's been taking quite the dip, selling for around $1,200 at the end of last year to now selling for around $700 per pack. That is a huge price decrease, but it is still one of the best sets ever printed. And that's a look at the Pokemon card market and some of the cards you should be looking at and maybe looking to avoid right now. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you for watching. Take care.